We saw this article in the New York Times about what sex therapists want everyone to know. While we are not identified specifically as sex therapists, we talk about sex all the time. I talk about sex all the time.
With every couple, and if they don't bring it up, I do.
My most fun experience was when I asked about sex in a couple and like where their sex life was at. Someone said that's really personal. I'm like, so we're going to kind of go down some things about what sex therapists want everyone to know, according to this article. But we're, of course, going to put our own spin on it because after 20 years and 30 years of working with couples and talking about sex,
you'll never be able to shut us up. The first thing that feels really important, and I don't know about you, Doug, but in so many of my sessions, they will say their partner, or maybe they'll even say that they themselves feel like the number of times that they're having sex is unacceptable and that other people are having sex more than they are. And that is a problem because the comparison is the thief of sexual joy. If your spouse comes to you and says, my friends talk about sex all the time and their wife puts out 5 times a week and we only have sex once a week.
What a crass way of saying that, by the way, for something so beautiful. Yeah, I don't even know that I have an opinion on that other than that we're so influenced by social media and society and expectations and TV shows and what lovemaking looks like, even in porn films for anybody who watches porn. There's this unnatural sort of nature to it because it's not realistic to think that any of us look that way all the time, any of us perform that way all the time, which brings me to point number 2. Like maybe we want to reestablish and identify what sex really is and redefine it. And I think one of the things I've struggled with, so I have people with, whether it's a sexually transmitted disease, whether it's erectile dysfunction, whether it's libido differences, as you referenced in the first issues, whether it's somebody who cannot access the lower part of their body. I just think there's so many different ways that people get stuck on what sex needs to be. And the truth of the matter is, it isn't always about both of you getting pleasure. It isn't even always about orgasm. Like I will say that one of the things that I have come to really love and believe is that romantic love is not always about sex. Mm-hmm. It can be a romantic situation. It can be an intimate situation. You can be in a relationship that does not have sex as a part of it if both of you are satisfied and agree on that, or you have other ways that you integrate ethically non-monogamous relationships or polyamorous relationships or whatever it might be. But everyone has a different definition of what is good for them. One of the pet peeves I really have in this life and this culture of ours is that we have a hard time asking for what we need. And I truly believe everyone has positions, kinks, fetishes, whatever they want to explore. I encourage people to continuously explore what that is in a safe and consensual way, of course. But I really think that it's exciting to kind of think about new things and role plays and whatever else you want to integrate into your relationship. So have fun with it. But don't get stuck on one definition, like it needs to be intercourse or it needs to be penetration or it needs to be orgasm every time. It isn't always about that.
It's sort of like introducing a concept that there's more than one type of desire, because a lot of people will feel like if their partner is not initiating sex, they aren't attracted to them anymore or they don't feel sexual desire. But introducing the concept that responsive desire is also desire. So maybe you are not the one that's initiating, and maybe that's for a million different reasons, that like you have a to-do list that you need to check off before you can think about pleasure. Or maybe it's just not top of mind because it doesn't feel like you're going to die if you don't get it. It's not like in that place of appetites and drives. However, there is a responsive desire that you might not be initiating, but if somebody is tickling your back or inviting you into foreplay or sexual connection or intimacy. And so be open to the possibility that even if your partner isn't initiating, that does not mean they don't desire you or they're not attracted to you. But you can introduce the idea that even if you initiate, they can have this responsive desire.
So this is where my eyes got wide because we kind of alternate different parts of this. And the next category is the power of the clitoris. And I am not going to talk about that. I'm going to instead talk about the penis. And really in this part of thing, what sex therapists want you to know is that dudes are as complex as women are. And there's this big assumption that all one has to do is blow our way and our erection gets hard and we can engage in sex. Men are not always in the mood. I know that there are men that are, but I would say that they are anyway. And
there are
always take
some
the
women that
opportunity.
are.
And there's some women that are. And I really have loved that experience of working with people. But a penis is not like an automatic thing that works. And I think men need to get over the idea that they need to perform in a certain way all the time and that they need to always be available for that at any time. And I think when we're younger, that's probably a factor. When a relationship is new, that can be a factor. But the bottom line is that, men are as complex sexually as women are. And I think it is about communicating what your experience is and not expecting dudes to just perform at any given time. We sometimes like some foreplay as well.
This next part is about the power, and I say
The plower.
clitoris, the flower
Clitoris,
power.
clitoris.
But you said clitoris.
I think that's how my phy-ed teacher called it
That's
when we were growing up.
hilarious. But it's like, this might feel really basic to some, but this also might be a public service announcement to all that the power of the clit, peeps. I hope my mom isn't listening to this. Mom, plug your ears. Do you hear me? Or my children? Well, they should know.
Holy crap.
Okay, so the idea is, if you're having sex with a female partner and you're like, this feels so good, why is she not orgasming? Is it because I'm a bad lover? Maybe, but it's probably because most of the sensory, like electric pleasure comes from the clit or around the clitoris. And sex does not, like actual intercourse, does not have anything that involves the clitoris. So don't get lazy, people. If you want your female partner to actually get off and want sex more, you might have to learn how to help her orgasm, and she might not be asking for what she needs, which I will say, anyone that has a vagina, you are also responsible to be figuring out what feels good and ask for what you need. But if your female partner is just not really wanting sex, is it possible that you guys don't ever focus on her orgasm? In which case you are kind of a bad lover.
As a mostly gay man, one can see why that area of conversation I have some limitations in.
PSA.
So I appreciate you identifying that.
You might need to just add a few more steps in to your sexual
repertoire.
Yes.
Can I also say, I think I have this biased group of dudes in my life who I think are highly interested in making sure their female partners, whether they have female and male both or female partners, are satisfied.
Like they're good lovers.
They're really good lovers. They want to make
attentive
sure.
lovers.
Absolutely. I don't know anyone
it.
who's not. I'm thinking through all my dude friends
That's awesome.
that I know about their sex life. I know.
I love that so much. It's really crucial.
I want to congratulate all of my dude friends.
Congratula.
And I also have women that I think will ask for what they need, which is really great in my friendship circle.
Goals.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it.
I really love it too. So intimacy, one of the next categories, intimacy should be put on the calendar, not just sex. I think for a lot of couples, I have worked with couples where they have like a night that they're going to have sex and they can anticipate it and they wait for it and they're ready for it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. It works for some.
It works for some. However, it can also backfire and put pressure on people, or if you're not in the mood or you had some kind of meal that just does not make you sexy.
Indian food, for sure. A burrito.
A big old pizza.
Shrimp.
But that's the thing. Like, we're not always in the mood all the time. And I think for couples who put it on the calendar and then it doesn't happen, someone's going to be frustrated or both of you are going to be frustrated. So I think the goal is to also like create some intimacy in your life. Like spend time on date nights, go out to a candlelight dinner, make one at home, sit by the fire or sit on your couch and watch a movie together holding hands. Create an intimate possibility, right? Because that intimacy on your calendar, make a time for it on your calendar because it might lead to sex. But putting the pressure of sex can backfire as well. Or if you're really good at it and that's what works, great. If you're sure that you're going to get it once a week, let's do it. but it doesn't always work that way. So be conscientious of whether that pattern works for you. And again, focus more on intimacy as something that you regularly do versus banging.
Also, if there is a culture of just like affection and flirting, because I've also heard some complaints of people who are like, you don't even make eye contact with me if you are not wanting sex. The next one that I think is really important is it's really easy to have sex all of a sudden feel awkward. And if you're overthinking it or you're feeling self conscious, or if it's been a while and then you're feeling really uncomfortable about it, or there's too much pressure, you don't know how to bring it up. And is there a way to hold the idea that it's a really kind of a physical, somatic, animal drive, and there isn't a lot of intellect that belongs in the same room? Like, shut down your brain, be in your body. And sometimes, if people are really cut off from themselves as a sexual being, I like to tell them to go on sort of an exploration of their senses so that they can open up the senses. Like, sexuality and sensuality are very connected. So if you are not someone that stops to smell the roses or look at a beautiful sunset or touch your partner's cashmere sweater, it's like the touch and the visual and the smell and all of the I'm like missing a lot of senses. Hearing beautiful music,
Smelling, touching, feeling, hearing.
oh, that's beautiful music.
Mm-hmm.
We're missing a few senses, but you know
We're
what
not
they
missing
are.
a few. No.
Take a bath, smell some lavender, but it's animal. Get out of your head. Enjoy it. Don't be self-conscious.
Well, and also, like, we're putting pressure in this conversation, it seems like maybe on, like, this is what you might do to maximize your sexual experience. It's okay to be asexual too. And I want to put that out there.
That's
Not
a
everyone,
good caveat.
not everyone wants to have sex. Not everyone's comfortable with that part of their lives, and not everybody naturally craves it. So it is really okay to just be whoever you are. And I think that's one of the pieces that, you know, in growing up as well, like I grew up in a Catholic rural community, sex was not talked about. And so the shit that happened behind the scenes was over the top. Some well-known stuff happened in the town that I grew up in that is not pretty. And I think there's a part of this that suppression in any way, shape, or form, or not being honest and true to who you are, can be incredibly hurtful to your functioning in general, but really, moreover, in your physical experience as well and sexual experience. So I encourage everybody to dig deep. And, you know, I think one of the things that I've often told people is like, do you read things that turn you on? Have you looked at certain films that get you going?
Yes.
What is it that turns you on? And, you know, I will own that over the course of time, I've learned more and more and more about myself and what I like and what I don't like. And it has changed over time. So I think as we grow, hopefully we grow in our sexuality as well, and we are open to whatever happens. And I got to tell you something. The other thing that has been a pet peeve of mine in the last period of my life and professionally as well is I'm getting tired of labels. I'm getting tired of needing
You're going to say labia.
I'm not getting tired of labia. I'm getting tired of labels. And I think that what we do is we pigeonhole ourselves sexuality wise, gender wise, you know, in all ways. I just realized, you know, I think people are so looking to establish a sense of who they are, which can be helpful to some people. But I'm so proud of the younger generation who's kind of opening up our minds to take a look at sexuality and gender as very different. And I'm really proud of all of that, including my own children.
And it gives us a chance to show up and just be like, I know that I maybe was socialized thinking that I should like this or I should want this, but actually being true to myself, I don't, or I like something different. And I also wanted to throw in like neurodiversity, right? And like sensory issues.
Yeah, for sure.
And to pay attention to just that idea of like, I feel like I should like this more than I like this.
Which is really, those shoulds just really are very sad to me. And I think people also, because we are conditioned in some ways to think a certain way about even monogamy. Like I think we were raised very much when I was growing up, like find someone to settle down with. You don't have anyone outside of that relationship. It needs to be monogamous. Frankly, it needs to be heterosexual. And that's all bullshit. That's not how it works. We all get to decide what we want related to our relationships, but also our sexuality. And it's critically important, as ashamed as I think a lot of people are of their own needs and wants in this regard. Get it out there, put it out there right away, as much as you know about yourself, and then make a plan when you're in a relationship to continuously have that conversation so that you can evolve and have the most satisfying physical, emotional, sexual, intellectual relationship that you can possibly do.
And if you are partnered and have been married for a long time or have been partnered for a long time and you guys have found yourselves feeling really awkward about sex, or you found yourself doing things that you should be doing, but they really don't feel connected at all and they're performative, it is never too late to sort of wake up and say, hey, babe, I feel like we've gotten into a rut here, or I'm feeling really awkward about this, and I don't even know how to have this conversation. Like, I would like to put it back on the table that I'm craving more connection and more intimacy, and I know we've never talked about it before, but can we maybe talk about it? Hard to do, but oh my gosh, wouldn't that be a better scenario than just like, yeah, we haven't had sex for 20 years, even though both of us secretly want it. We've just never talked about it. So now we're going to get divorced and find someone else we can talk about it with. Have that awkward conversation now.
Well, and put it on your calendar. It's like I said before.
Thursday at 6.
Intimacy is a way, and conversation can be very intimate, and it can be leading to some really fun things that happen.
If you have found any value in this sexy episode, please like, subscribe, send it to a friend. We are on social media. Dr. Talia Jackson, Douglas L. Jensen with an EN. We're Not Fine Pod. We are on YouTube. We're Not Fine, and TikTok, We're Not Fine.
And of course, go to we'renotfine.com. If you have any questions, comments, if you have any questions about what we've said on this episode or others, or you just have something that you're dealing with in your life and it's totally not been something we've covered before, please feel free to ask us. We are so open to anything and everything that you are struggling with as a human being in your life, and we would be delighted to talk about it. So please feel free to contact us. You can do it anonymously. Again, there's a place to submit any questions on we'renotfine.com.
Bye, you guys. Have a beautiful week, and we will see you next time.
Take care of yourselves.